Hi, and welcome back to All Therapists Are Jerks with Ulland
and Jo.
We're going to be continuing on this episode to take our journey into more of the reality acceptance skills. This time we're focusing more on some of the more physical or body ways that we can work towards acceptance.
So today we'll be focusing on HalfSmile and willing hands. These are skills that help with the physical openness to acceptance. So in the last podcast we talked about, or in the podcast that we did, Turning the Mind, Willingness, we talked about how our body oftentimes will have like physical representations of when we're rejecting reality. So like a closed off body posture, stern face, tension, hands and fists, kind of just thinking of the ways in which, in your body communicates to your brain that you're not accepting reality. And so if we're going to be moving into reality acceptance, we need to be able to communicate. The brain and the body need to be communicating together. And so oftentimes when we're practicing HalfSmile, willing hands, what we're trying to do is have the body communicate to the brain that, yes, we're open. We're open and we're willing to move toward acceptance, even if cognitively we don't really want to. And in that way of opening yourself up, you can open yourself up to the concept of acceptance and then actually move into the action of acceptance.
I think it's also, for me, important in a way is to talk about how this actually does physiologically work. So sitting in some of these postures, standing these postures might seem unusual because they'll often be associated probably with like it's hippy-dippy, or it's like Eastern religion, or it's so like almost like you're pretending to be as a Buddhist or a Zen monk or whatever, and it can feel disingenuine. There are reasons for why these things work. So often we get things backwards. Our mind has this illusion that it's almost like, oh, I feel how I feel, and then I express that to my environment. The issue with emotions is you're the last to know how you feel. The emotion is already in your body. Your mind has to look for it in your body, and your mind also has to look to your face to know how you feel. So your conscious mind is actually the last to actually recognize how you feel. So if you have changes occurring in your body first or changes on your faces first, that then in turn tells your mind actually how to feel or how it's feeling. So it doesn't originate in the mind, it originates in the body. So this is where the idea of the as-if principle comes from. I believe it was William James, that his idea was that, if you act the way you want to be or the way you want to feel, that you eventually will then feel or believe in that way, which is kind of a basis for cognitive behavioral therapy. So part of the idea with willing hands is it does feel vulnerable, and people often say they don't like the vulnerable feeling, but that's also because the more medial aspect of your arm or your forearm actually is closer to your body and just your whole life, but also for our evolutionary history, that's a very sensitive, tender part of our body because it's close to our body. It's not as solid, as rugged as like the exterior part of your forearm, or your palms are often close to your body, so you have a sense of that being intimate and vulnerable. And so then when you're asked to expose that to people, then it can feel more vulnerable. But also if someone hands something to you, often you'll put your hand out for something. So just having the hand out is a willingness to take something or to allow someone to give something from you. And so it's no wonder to me, like so much religious iconography and multiple belief systems has that idea of the hand being held out in a willing way. It's a very powerful thing that we've known of and have kind of intuited for thousands of years.
Yeah, it's open and accepting. It's
Yes.
Open, accepting, receiving. And so the HalfSmile portion of this, I think, is sometimes really difficult to do for a lot of people because you think of a half smile and I think people think, well, I don't want to artificially smile. I mean, I'm sad or I'm angry or whatever. Why would I want to smile? We're not asking for like a full-blown ridiculous grin. We're asking for a slight upturn of the lips. I listen to a lot of Tara Brach meditations, and she will often refer to the half smile of the Buddha. So it's this concept of relaxing your face from your forehead to your chin to your jaw. And we carry a significant amount of tension in our faces, even if we're not experiencing any majorly intense emotions. So if you think about all the tension that you hold in your jaw, and maybe right now while I'm talking about it, you might be scanning your face for areas of tension. Are you holding tension in your jaw? Where's the placement of your tongue? Is your tongue tight to the roof of your mouth? Or is it gently relaxed in your mouth? Are you holding tension in your cheeks or in between your eyebrows, squinting your eyes? What's your forehead doing? Is it light? Are your eyebrows raised? There's all these places and like so many muscles in the face that, we can hold tension regardless of what kind of mood we may or may not be in. I mean, a lot of people, like I've been accused of having RBF or resting bitch face, right?
Right.
So, right. You agreed a little too
Well, no, I
quickly
mean,
on that one.
I'm agreeing with myself. I apologize. You may have one. I know I have one. I get an intense look sometimes.
Right. So, like, even when we're just like relaxed or thinking or concentrating on something, we can have a more intense look on our face. The intention behind Half Smile, Willing Hands is to try to release that tension, to let things go, to allow the corners of your lips to upturn just slightly. So it's not an actual grin or a smile. And a lot of times with Half Smile, Willing Hands, I like to practice it with my eyes closed, but you can practice it with your eyes open. And I actually do this with my kids. If I find myself having a lot of tension with my kids, or if like my one daughter's really, really wanting something and she's pretty assertive about what she wants, I can hold a lot of tension in my face, and I recognize that. So I'll actually try Half Smile while talking to her in order to lighten up that resting bitch face look. And I do find that I'm less irritated with her in doing that. So I'd like you to try it right now with me while we're, on this podcast journey together, to just kind of sit upright in your chair, and we're going to talk about the willing hands portion of this too in a second. But right now, just focusing on your face. Try to relax your face from your forehead all the way to your chin and to your jaw. And what I like to think about with this is I like to place my tongue just gently between my teeth. So you're not like biting it or anything like that, but what that does is it relaxes your jaw, your lower jaw especially, and it actually will relax your tongue. So if you don't like putting it between your teeth, just rest it in the back of your teeth at like the roof of your mouth. And then after you do that, try to allow the tension in your forehead to relax, and at the same time, allow your lips to go up just slightly, just enough that you actually feel them. So if you were looking in a mirror, you may not even see a difference in the upturn, but just this energy of an upward energy of lifting the corners of the mouth just slightly.
It doesn't have to be like a smile anybody notices, really. It's just there's a slight, like for me in my cheek, a slight feeling of contraction or the beginning of contraction. Just know that the muscles are just starting to do something for the mouth. So people might not realize you're doing it, other than having a serene face might be the change they see. But the smile itself isn't that you're trying to fake like you're happy or pretend you're happy. You're physiologically just trying to get the initial contraction of the beginning of a smile and then just holding it.
Exactly. And then the rest of the half smile is to adopt a serene facial expression. So again, that's like reducing the amount of tension that you're holding in your forehead, in your cheeks, in your jaw. So it'd be almost like I like to think of like when I watch my kids sleep, like when they're in a really sound sleep, they just have this like very neutral, very relaxed, very serene, almost angelic facial expression. That's kind of what you're going for with this. So that is the half smile portion of Half Smile, Willing Hands.
So willing hands, it can be done in different postures. One can be done while you're standing. So you would have your arms kind of relaxed down to your side from your shoulders and probably a little bit bent, honestly, because that's a little bit more comfortable. But then your hands would be unclenched, and then you'd want to turn your palms, more forward with your thumbs pointing, out from your sides and your fingers being relaxed. It would be, weird, to like walk around in front of people who do it this way because you don't really see people do that. But I guess it's like iconography. You see pictures of like Jesus maybe walking like that. He often has his palms out facing forward. And so it can be done even while standing. So I probably don't do it, but a good time might be if you're waiting in line and you're really frustrated by someone ahead of you, or you've been in line too long, that if you actually can stand and reduce tension in your body, but put your palms out that way, that you can be more willing to be there waiting, basically.
Yeah, I've actually done that at the grocery store. This is kind of a funny example to give, but I've done that at the grocery store, like where I'm in a hurry. I am one of those people that's really stubborn, and I don't like to go through the manual checkouts. I don't know. I like people. And
I prefer the manual checkouts, oddly enough.
Yes, introvert, I'm aware. Like the least human connection possible.
Beep, 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 beep. That's all I got to say.
Well, for me, I like being in line. Like I like talking to the cashier. I like, I don't know. I like people. I'm an extrovert. But I did experience once where I needed to get through the grocery store more quickly than normal. It happens to be like, I'm sure right before a Packer game around here, and like everybody's at the grocery store. So even the manual lines, there was like a backlog of them. So I chose the shortest line to get into, and I noticed like I was just gripping my cart. My hands were like completely clenched. I know in my mind I was thinking, of course, I waited last minute to get my grocery shopping done. Now I'm going to miss kickoff and all this stuff is happening. And my hands are just clenched, my jaw's clenched. And I thought about willing hands, and all I did is release the clenching in my hands, and I turned my hands upright on my shopping cart. So it wouldn't have looked like completely bizarre if someone were to walk by me, but just the relaxation of the hands, turning the hands upright and allowing my hands to rest on the top of my shopping cart, I experienced a significant reduction in tension just by that simple action.
You can also do it very similar if you were lying down on your back, you had your arms by your sides and palms up towards the ceiling, again, relaxed and unclenched. We often do it during mindfulness practice on the unit or even for our individual selves. So often we sit in something called calm body and we add willing hands to it. And calm body is, sitting in a chair, with your posture upright, head tilted, slightly down to maybe where your eyes look at the floor 3 feet in front of you, and both feet would be flat on the floor, uncrossed, slightly apart. And then you would have the backs of your hands resting softly on your thighs, basically. And that would be a seated position that we would encourage for mindfulness. Part of it is helpful, obviously, because it's a willing posture to be in, and mindfulness can be very difficult to do for residents at first because of where their minds go, and staying on task is very difficult. And it's a vulnerable position to sit in, as how it often feels. Also, it can be quite helpful because you're also not able to engage in a lot of avoidance behaviors. So there are behaviors like having your legs double crossed, or even sometimes single crossed, or your arms crossed, where there are ways we like almost put tension into our body as a way to actually avoid the physical sensations of other emotions.
Right. And I think the other thing that we really focus on a lot with our residents when we're teaching this is this concept of almost like your bones being like a coat hanger, and your muscles are kind of just draped on the coat hanger. So it's like your bones offer you structure and support. So we don't want really tense, rigid posture. We also don't want slumpy, slouchy posture either. So it's like that idea of a weight pulling your seat down, but then also like a string lifting your head up, but it's not stiff and tense. I think that's another really helpful way. And then with the willing hands, it's just being open. It's open and it's accepting and it's willing. And it really can help to increase willingness. And then when your body's communicating to your mind that you're willing and you're open, then you can move into other skills such as, mindfulness of current thoughts,
which we'll be addressing in the next episode. This has been an episode of All Therapists Are Jerks with Ulland
and Jo.
Thank you for listening.